What's up, guys? Here with you with FC Wonderkid, episode 15. Here with my guy, Brennan. How are you?
Ugh, these numbers, episode 15. Can you believe it? 4 months almost? Unbelievable. Hey, I got to tell you, first off, I'm good. Hope you're doing well. But some really awesome news. The UEFA Youth League will be back in a month's time. That is awesome, right?
Well, that's awesome to hear, and that's really exciting because the Portuguese youngsters have been performing so well in that competition. I
Thought
like
you'd
to
be happy.
mention Porto won it in the previous years. Real Madrid with Raúl too.
Yeah,
Really good team that was.
yeah,
So yeah, that's I actually hadn't seen that.
yeah.
So I
That's
like
why
that.
I hid it from you. I didn't want to, I wanted to leave something that surprised you from day one here. But no, I mean, think about it. The last time we were even looking at youth league games, one, we had no podcast. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Two, we actually barely knew each other. Three, you were looking at guys like Curtis Jones and Yusufa Mokuko, Coco, and Gio Reyna. And these guys were just getting started at that level. So yeah, UEFA Youth League always shows those future stars, and it would be awesome to go to be able to cover that finally, right?
Very true.
Yeah, my favorite transfer was like because all of the hype around it was Ben White to
Yeah.
Arsenal because 55 million euros is quite steep in my opinion for a
Mm-hmm.
youngster, especially a youngster that comes from Brighton.
Yeah.
So that is an unbelievable business for Brighton.
Yes, it is.
What were your thoughts on that business?
Well, it's let's see, it's 1.5 million euros per Premier League appearance, if I'm not mistaken. No, I mean, hey, listen, Ben White is a very solid player, and I think we had started down this path previously. I'm just happy that Arsenal they're making decisions, right? And this might be the wrong decision, and it might be an expensive decision that they don't make. And frankly, they had the third best defense based on goals conceded last year. So they might, some might look at it and say they're addressing a problem that wasn't even necessarily there.
Mm-hmm.
But what it comes down to is they're making a decision. They have a vision. They're exercising that vision. And more importantly, I think they're handing the keys internally to the cam position and everything moving forward. So I do I think it's the right decision bringing in Ben White for 55 million euros? No, but nobody asked me, right? I think he's going to be a very solid player. And frankly, if you look at White and you look at Gabriel and you look at Chambers can do a job, and you bring Saliba in after he's a couple
Mm.
more years, battle tested. I think they've got the makings of a very solid defense for years and years to come.
Well, as I think Arsenal fans should be hopeful with Saliba because, in my opinion, Saliba is the best defensive prospect at Arsenal right now.
Sure.
I saw the preseason game that Conrad actually scored in the
Yeah.
the, fir- the beginning 5 minutes,
Oh yeah,
and
that's giveaway.
Saliba he was really good. Like he looked proper with Gendozi,
Yeah.
so it's gonna be exciting. I wanted to mention too in the pod here in the transfer sections, Jules Condé.
Yes.
I was surprised when I saw Fabrizio mentioning Jules Condé going to Chelsea because come on, like Chelsea was strong enough on
Yeah.
defense. I knew that Tuchel, his desired defense is with four at the back. He doesn't want to play with five at the back too much,
Right.
and it's scary that he's getting Jules Condé because Jules Condé is just perfect for the Premier League.
It,
Fast, strong, passing ability on point, and honestly, he's been battle tested.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
Kurt Zuma adding to the deal, really good Chelsea,
Yeah.
really good Chelsea.
If Sevilla will take, Zuma, and I think Sevilla has been fighting that, and basically the price tag has been 70 million euros without Zuma, and I think Chelsea's probably going to pay it anyway. But this is another instance of do they actually need to be addressing this situation? And if you feel like Thiago Silva is 55 or something, then by all means, yeah, Jules Conde is your man. He can also play left back, as we've seen. But we also have to think about it this way, right? And I've gone full circle on this. Okay, I was a little bummed. Fikayo Tomori Mark Gahey, I honestly believe that they had a place they could be there. But if you're looking at it from a business perspective, they turned those two players for like 40 some million pounds.
Yeah.
Okay. And that basically gets you to, if you have Kurt Zuma as part of the deal, it gets you to the Jules Koundé deal. And or it gets you more than halfway to the full 70 million. So hey, the business is there, and if Koundé is their man, then by all means,
Very good point. That is a
yeah.
very good point. I hadn't thought about that, but honestly, I think that if Chelsea had kept Tomori, like Chelsea fans would have been as happy as they are with getting Conde, in my opinion. Because Tomori, like I saw some matches for AC Milan last season. I'm sure you did too.
Yes.
He was a beast for AC Milan, and AC Milan fans expect performances this season for Tomori. But another center back. Confirmation too. Varane has landed at Manchester United. And I'd like to say, for starters here, is that Varane is coming to Man United as one of the best center backs in the world. That is important to say. But I feel like what he's adding to the United locker room, it's not his. He is adding a lot of quality in terms of ability, Varane. But Varane is adding that winning mentality. Varane has been next to, like, champions for 10 years. And just the fact that Rashford is going to be next to a Varane who has high expectations next to everyone. And Maguire, I think he'll level up with him too. And honestly, I think the locker room is going to be more champion set. And that is exciting for Man United. Sancho add up. And we know that Bruno Fernandes wants to win the Prem, and he's always with this winning talk. And Varane, he's gonna be with the winning talk too.
I think the biggest thing you got to remember here is how fast they got that over the line, right? I mean, it was like it was announced, and then what? A week later, he was in red. So you gotta kudos to the business there, getting him in still in preseason, so he can actually start that gel process. With a Harry Maguire, with a Lindelof, with a Bailly, right? I mean, that's important stuff. Although we like to gloss it over by talking about statistics sometimes. Just as important, like you said, is if he's going to have that locker room influence, getting him in there as soon as possible and getting him started and acclimated. So, hey. I think Tottenham fans are wishing that they had that same type of expedition or expeditious nature to the transfer for Cuti Romero, but that's hit some snags. But I know you wanted to make another comment probably about Varane, because this kid, he was a flyer back in the day, was he not? I mean, he was not necessarily. He was just a prospect plucked out of nowhere.
Yeah, I remember when I was a kid watching the news of saying Mourinho was going to have the new French Wonderkid at center back, and I didn't know who he was, Raphael Varane, at that time. And I was really excited for Lens. Yeah, good times. And something that should be added too is Varane is the type of signings that you want to see at the club. And that is going to put pressure on Ollie. I just want to mention that at the end, because Ollie now has a player that has high expectations, even tactics-wise, and he's been working with the world's best. So he'll have to step up too for Varane, and it'll actually help the Pogba deal, Varane too. So this Varane deal was overall really good for United, in my opinion. So congratulations on that. And they still need a midfielder. I'll just want to end up there.
Well, if you can keep Pogba around, I think that's a coup in and of itself. But I don't know if they're going to. But that's a whole nother conversation, right? How about the other one though that really surprised some people, because it might give us maybe some clarity on another situation? The whole Leon Bailey to Aston Villa. I believe it was like 35 million euros, and Leon Bailey missed a little bit of the Gold Cup, or most of the Gold Cup, due to, I think it was foot issues, or it was due to maybe ironing out this deal. But when you think about it, it's another wing player coming in along with Buendia, along with Bertrand Traore, who they have already. and then you have Ollie Watkins up top, and then it's kind of like, okay, well, where's Jack Grealish? Does it mean he's going to go? And I have a theory, but do you think Jack Grealish is off to Manchester City or what?
I could add it there. That means, Brendan, Jack Grealish is going to City. Like, Leon Bailey coming to Aston Villa means Jack Grealish is going to City. Like,
Okay.
I'll be honest, I'd love to see that scenario that you were setting up with Buendia on the wing
Sure.
and Leon Bailey and Grealish in the middle with Watkins up front. But
Yeah.
it'd be very hard. It'd be very hard for that to happen.
It would, but he's one of those guys I look at and I'm like, I think this kid wants to be a one club player, right? I mean, I think he wants a reason to stay at Villa, and if Villa signs another winger and says we're going to move you centrally, yeah, I don't know. I mean, but if City's paying that much and they're going to up his wages to potentially I mean, there's a lot of fixtures to play for Manchester City, right?
True.
So for those of us worried that like he's going to go there and rot on the bench or not play as often and have that kind of Bernardo Silva treatment, that's a real worry. But they're also going to play how many fixtures this year,
But
right?
yeah, it's true. But Jack Grealish adds talent to any team he goes to. He's like the most foul. No, he's not. He is the most fouled player in the Premier League last season, and we know he was out for like 2-3 months, to say the least. And it was by a mile. I think the stat was there was quite a difference between him and the next one. And I'd like to add too, like, Jack Grealish wouldn't be who I would get if I were Man City. I get the striker and the left back. As striker, you know, it's easy. Harry Kane. I feel like the deal is done verbally, but a lot needs to happen for it to actually go through. And Nunminge. That would be who I go for.
Wow.
But
Okay.
but Jack Grealish to Man City, like, I can't say it's a bad transfer, you know, because you're gonna have 3 people behind a striker that are drifty, swaggy, and are unbelievable dribblers with Foden, Grealish, and De Bruyne.
Yeah.
Any midfield that goes against this one, they're gonna be quaking their boots next to this Man City midfield.
And
So
actually,
I can't hate on it.
no, I mean, and the funny thing is if Grealish comes in, it might actually take some pressure or some heat off of Kevin De Bruyne as most fouled. You know, because we know KDB takes his fair share of knocks. But hey, there's one major thing here that you have to think about beyond the money. And if you want to go and you want to win championships, you go with Pep. You go to City. It's going to be your best place to do it. Does it kill a little bit of my love for the game? Kind of, right? Would I have loved him to build it with Villa? Sure. Is that realistic to think? No, it's not realistic to think. So, yeah, you know, Leon Bailey, when it comes down to it, is a phenomenal player. Is he Jack Grealish's replacement? We don't know just yet, but yeah, signs do point to yes. Although my conspiracy theory is that Grealish stays, but I said Sancho stayed and he didn't. So that's a mea culpa on my part. But yeah, any other big Premier League ones that, you know, the Cuti Romero, love to see that get over the hump for Tottenham just so they can have some joy on top of their Brian Heel. But I think we could probably pop over to Barcelona and what's going on there. Or did you have another one to add?
I like to mention the last one, and it's to give Arsenal fans hope. But it's a deal that I think makes sense because we all know Bellerin is in talks to go to Inter. And Arsenal fans, I do believe that Lautaro would consider coming to Arsenal. I know this is bold because Arsenal have no European leagues, but I think Lautaro would understand that Arsenal has history, and it's a long-term project, and Inter wouldn't refuse the money. This is very important to mention. They already have a striker with Lukaku there. I'm not saying Lautaro is a substitute or anything of that sort, but 50 million in a Bellerin or 40 million in Bellerin, I think about it.
Yeah,
I think about it.
Maybe. I think it's more likely that Lukaku goes back to Chelsea than Lautaro winds up at Arsenal. But not to douse those flames out, which are that would be pretty interesting.
That is interesting, though, the Chelsea striker talk. Because, so you do believe a striker is going to Chelsea now?
No, I don't actually. I'm a waffler, right? I mean, we see it in the comment section every now and again. I'm a little bit of a waffler here. I don't know when it comes to that. I do feel like Timo Werner, Kai Havertz have a lot more to give this year. But yeah, I mean, would things be made easier if you want to splash 170 million on Erling Haaland? Sure, of course it would. He's a freak of nature when it comes down to what he offers a team. You can't get it anywhere else. So I don't know. Don't get me started on this, Alex. Come on. Hey, I like that Lautaro to Arsenal talk. I mean, I like that there's a direction right now, as you mentioned the last time, as to where the Gunners are going. And hey, we don't like to hate on Arsenal. We want to see them do better. That's for sure.
What do you want to mention on Barcelona now? That I'm curious.
Yeah. So we all got to see Yusuf Demir do some great things recently in that friendly. But what that kind of covers over and glosses over is the fact that they just lost probably their top number 9 in La Masia, Iker Bravo. He went to Bayer Leverkusen. And why do you go to Bayer Leverkusen? Probably because they actually laid out a plan that says, here's how you get to first team minutes, and here's how it happens sooner rather than later. And oh, by the way, you're going to play with some pretty amazing young players like a Florian Wirtz, like, Moussa Diaby, who still is 22 or 23, no longer Leon Bailey, but Iker Bravo, that is a talent gone for little to nothing. And it starts to make you think about what's also going on with Ilyich Mariba, who made his way in. He had a couple appearances. By all means, he actually ended up doing fairly well. And I don't know. We don't know what goes on in the room to be a fly in the wall of a contract negotiation, but word was that he was asking for something like 6 million euros a year. I don't know if that's the case, but ultimately you do everything you can to keep that youthful core. And Mariba may have read the room wrong and thinking that there aren't people that will pick up his slack there, but this kid likely will be a world-class midfielder if he goes somewhere he can play.
I'll be honest, like it's really I'm not understanding really well like what Barcelona is doing here, like with Moriba.
Yeah.
Now, because Moriba has to be seen as one of the biggest talents at Barcelona, and the fact that a player like him is in the situation that he is, not having his extension already done,
right?
Come on, that is bad management right there, and that is worrying. And I'd like to mention too, Alex Collado went on loan to Club Brugge. Really good loan for him. And yeah, I feel like Moriba, maybe it would have been good for him to have a loan, and having him getting those minutes at the first team. Yes, it gave him a lot of responsibility, but it did give him a lot of leeway too.
Sure.
And the club must feel it now. And yeah, they need to figure out here with Moriba. But the numbers that I heard that 6 million he's asking a year, and that is steep. Okay, that is steep. So it's not a good scenario. But let's see.
But I mean, to tie that up, if you're not watching Iker Bravo, watch his rise through the Leverkusen system. My guess is that you could probably see a Bundesliga debut relatively early this season. At least we'd all like to think so. But I'll tell you what, if we're talking about kind of mismanagement of contracts and all that, I'm trying to figure out what's going on with Mohamed Ahataren from PSV Eindhoven. Kid's been frozen out of training. Apparently there was a tweet showing a picture of Raiola with Ahataren and Myron Boadu, and Boadu just landed at AS Monaco to be announced very shortly, thanks to the unrivaled, unparalleled work of Fabrizio Romano. We all know that Boadu is likely headed to AS Monaco. And man, I mean, the Eredivisie is getting rated this year, between Nice and between Monaco. I mean, you've got, how many is it now? It's unbelievable. But Ahataren is one that he was the darling of PSV for a little while. We all thought that he was going to be like on the radar. I think he was on the radar of Arsenal for a while, and he was just doing really well. Last season, I don't know where he went. Nobody knows where he went.
As he should. It was I think it was the contract extensions and the fact that with Raiola, he's not easy with those contracts.
No.
And I don't know. Maybe he was comfortable with the maybe the player is very comfortable with the situation that the agent has promised him.
Could be.
So Mohamed Iateren is currently thinking maybe he deserves to play and not every weekend, and I'm with him on that. And he's really talented too. So let's see what happens. I wouldn't be surprised if he joined a Ligue 1 team, and yeah, that could happen. But I'd like to mention on the transfers, like my last topic in the transfers is Benfica. I was really surprised that Benfica went to sign Yarenchuk, the Ghent striker.
Yeah.
Because they already have Seferovic, Darwin, Gonçalo Ramos, now Yarenchuk. This just shows that the club is 100% eyeing for that Champions League.
Sure.
Okay, they need the Champions League. Okay, they've signed Maite, the midfielder from Torino.
Yep.
I'm sure you know about him.
Sure.
João Mario, that was at Sporting last season, and now they're getting Yarenchuk. So the club is trying to get guarantees, and they did sell Nuno Tavares for 8 million.
Mm-hmm.
So they're managing to get money in the meantime, and yeah, it's
a solid price. I mean, he was prolific at Ghent, and it was him and Jonathan David doing some pretty awesome things for Ghent, and I think Benfica's got a good one there. It's just, what does it mean for Darwin? What does it mean for like you said? What does it mean for Darwin? What does it mean for Seferovic? Right?
Exactly. They must be expecting to sell one of them,
or Gonçalo Ramos too. I mean, that's kind of the big one there. Who's the odd man out?
I think Gonçalo Ramos is going to be a bet for Benfica. They want him to play, as they should, because Gonçalo Ramos is one of the best Portuguese talents out there. So Benfica has to retain him. Darwin Nunes, I've seen some news saying that they refused 30 million from Brighton. Okay, so that Ben White money has been refused by Benfica.
Holy crap.
And but Seferovic.
Yeah.
Oh, and I'm forgetting Carlos Vinicius.
Oh yeah, he's back.
So how many strikers are here at Benfica now? But he has to play. If a player comes for 17 million to the Portuguese league, he has to play.
I don't know. Maybe they're going the new 4-striker setup. We'll see. That's crazy. Well, the last thing I got to mention from transfers, it's kind of tongue in cheek here. Did you see that Patrick Mahomes is now an MLS owner? You got Patrick Mahomes, man.
Sporting Kansas, right?
Yeah. Here's what I got to say about Patrick Mahomes. If every player could be like him when it comes to a community, that is amazing. He's bought in. I mean, his girlfriend bought into the women's team. He bought into the men's team. He owns. I mean, he's everywhere. I think he owns part of the Royals. But anyway, I just wanted to say that tongue in cheek here because come on, he's one of the best athletes on the planet.
Well,
so
if you want to end up on the MLS, Ryan Gold went to the Vancouver Whitecaps.
That he did.
And I was telling you, like, Ryan Gold was one of the best players in Ligue 1 last season. Okay, and it was like 300K, wasn't it, or 200?
Something like
that. It's a steal for Ryan Gold. Okay, just for you to have an idea, he actually learned Portuguese while he was here. The Scottish kid, he learned Portuguese, became captain of the club. He was at Farense. He had like 13 man of the match performances. Okay, and 300K, like that's a steal going to the MLS.
Yeah, you compare that.
Enjoy what you're gonna see. Like,
I mean, but it's just another. Gone are the days we're talking about retirement home, right? When it comes to MLS, because you got Ryan Gold, you've got Sebastian Driussi from Zenit, 25, winds up at Austin FC, Matthew McConaughey's team. Just kidding, but yes. Thiago Almada is very likely signing for Atlanta United, who also might name somebody Paulo Fonseca, as their new coach.
Woo!
Um,
I didn't
yeah,
know that.
yeah,
Paul
and then
Fonseca with Atalanta.
yeah,
Oh!
they're in advanced talks right now, and on top of that, you've got Dejan Javeljic. Sorry, I don't know how to say Serbian last names. The 21-year-old that actually scored a bunch of goals a while back for, I think it was for Eintracht Frankfurt, before getting sent out on loan because he got, somebody else came in and took his spot. He's going to be at the Galaxy. Galaxy just signed him. So some really interesting names that are coming in. I mean, these are not, Ben White, Myron Boadu, Iker Bravo, Jules Koundé names.
I'm still shocked that you said Paul Fonseca is going to Atalanta.
Advanced talks. We'll see.
Atalanta's going to win the MLS. I'm calling it. I'm calling it. You got the stadium, and now you're going to have the coach.
Well, here's the thing. Some people are saying the opposite simply because they just had Gabriel Heinze. And that lasted all of 8 months before he was sacked and sent, because cultural thing. Yeah, trust. I mean, there were some things that he was doing that a lot of people didn't like. But anyway, some fun times in MLS when it comes to it. And I think you're going to, like we had talked about several episodes ago, this is one of those things where we are going to start to pay more attention because the money's there. The money is definitely there. It's just whether or not they can spend it. And do so, amidst the rules without bankrupting the league. And once those money bags are opened a little more, you will see big names come in.
I'm just going to say this, Breton. Paul Fonseca, by going to the MLS, he is straight away the best coach in the MLS.
All right.
Trust. Portuguese coaches, they know that what they study really well to get that job. Trust me. And Paul Fonseca, MLS, I'm willing to put here that Paul Fonseca, I believe this is gonna. My days, it's such a good move. Such a good move. I didn't know.
If he's got Thiago Almeida, he's gonna have Joseph Martinez is back.
George Bello.
So George Bello, it'll be a fun time. But
I like that.
Hey, we can talk more about that at another time because fun things are always happening there. So you want to head to. And
let's go for the final, isn't it? It's gonna be. This is a big day for you, isn't it, Brennan?
It is. It's gonna be a tough night. I mean, if you look at this realistically, Mexico obviously on paper is an incredibly strong team. And I gotta say this because this jumps in Olympics and this jumps in Gold Cup final too. You got to give kudos to the Mexican depth. I mean, they've got their U23. I know they're all 24 and 25. They got their U23 team in the semifinals, getting ready to take on Brazil next in the Olympics. Yep. And then you've got their Gold Cup team. There were a couple hiccups along the way, and you could argue there were a couple weird referee decisions. But, man, they're in the final, and they're the favorites to win. So it is going to be a tough night. But I'll tell you what. The U.S. men's national team in the Gold Cup final, that is best case scenario that Greg Berhalter wanted coming into this thing. This is the C team, maybe the C- team for them. And what he wanted to see was depth come out, right? And now you've got depth in the form of a center back, Miles Robinson, who's had a phenomenal tournament. Matthew Hoppe, who is, at Schalke, likely is going to make a move probably to the Premier League at some point in the coming months. And he's shown up. You got Gianluca Buzio, who very clearly is showing that he is still raw, but can provide. He'll probably wind up in Serie A. So just some really, really good things coming out of it. And that's exactly what they wanted.
Daryl Dike. I told you, I think Daryl Dike is going to be the striker for the U.S. men's national team in the future.
Yeah,
I see that guy up front, that passion, Yeah, I like him.
It's there. What we need right now is for him to get healthy and to get back into it because he definitely has not been himself the last couple games. But hey, it's the Gold Cup is fun. If you've never watched it, watching a team, we call it CONCACAF ball because man, it is something different. It ain't ever pretty. But yeah, the Gold Cup. But anyway, the Olympics, man. I mean, who do you take in the final for that? You've got Brazil, Mexico, Spain, Japan. Who do you have in the final, and then who do you have winning?
like I did the call like some podcasts previously. I said my final was gonna be Brazil Spain. I'm gonna stick with it. I think the final is gonna be Brazil Spain. And what I like about it is that when I see this Brazilian team, I see a lot of names that I wouldn't see maybe in the future Brazilian national team.
Sure.
And it's really good that they're being glorified right now. Like a Douglas Luiz,
Yeah.
he's got the potential of one day being in the Brazil national team. But do I think he will? It's gonna be difficult considering players like Casemiro. Okay, that's the level that Brazil usually has.
Yeah.
But Douglas Luiz, Mateus Cunha, Bruno Guimarães, Anthony, really good to see him. Okay, not in the Ajax setup. And yeah, I think Brazil might win it all. I think Brazil beats Spain. Yeah.
I think you might be right on that one. Because at that point, Pedri will have played 87 games, and his beard will be down to here. No, I'm just kidding. No, yeah, Brazil has grown into this tournament, and they look every bit the favorites right now.
I thought Ivory Coast was gonna beat Spain, didn't you? Like I was like, who was it? Rafa Mir, right?
Yeah, Rafa Mir in extra time of all. I mean, I gotta say it, right? I did understandably get ridiculed in the comment section because I said Rafa when I was talking about Wolves, and who I meant was Raul Jimenez. But Rafa Mir was on the books still at Wolves, and here he is, 24 at the Olympics, coming on in extra time. He scores a hat trick, I think one to tie the game up and send it to extra time, and then 2 in extra time. I mean, come on, you can't write that any better. So that was pretty awesome. But Dani Olmo, let's be honest, he was at the middle of everything for Spain, and you got to give kudos to Ivory Coast for. I mean, come on. There's always an amazing African team in the Olympics, and normally it is Nigeria. This year it has been this time around it's been the Ivory Coast, and let's be honest, Kessié, Diallo.
But yeah, that was pretty crazy. Like the 30 minutes, you got a hat trick.
Yep.
Talk about impressing. He impressed me with that one, and I'd like to mention too another fantastic performance I saw in the Olympics, and that was Cordova, Mexican midfield. Really good against South Korea. He had 2 goals and an assist.
Yeah,
and he was dominating in midfield. So you mentioned that the depth that Mexico has is quite impressive, and I didn't know about a player like Cordova. So just seeing it, Alexis Vega, Lainez, I think they planned it out really well though. Like, I feel like even the substitutes, they were thinking, let's put it there, let's put it... There was a plan in place this summer for Mexico. So, it's interesting. You can see that they are thriving now, that the U.S. are building up. So, Mexico is thinking, like, we need to keep up, Yeah. So, really good strategy done by the Mexican national team.
And to be honest, when it comes down to Mexico, there's only one player that plays abroad, right? And that leads to their cohesion. Because Liga MX, no, is it a Premier League? Obviously not. But Liga MX very clearly has some very solid players. And you pulled basically your whole Olympic squad from there. So yeah, there's going to be an understanding of them because they study each other on a regular basis and play each other on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So it is good to see that. It is going to be interesting to see when Mexico decides to get younger, how they do it. And we'll find out soon enough. But hey, Gold Cup final tonight, which this will be out on Tuesday, so we'll already know the winner. And then the Olympics will be sometime this coming week. So hey, it might not have had the same passion as the Euro 2020. They both delivered though.
It's true. Two international competitions that gap that we had with no football, they filled it, and really good I liked it. Like I said it in the big 2 podcasts previously. Like I don't see the Gold Cup usually, because of the podcast content reasons. Like I watched it and it was good. It was good. So everyone that's like in the future thinking about watching it, it's worth the watch. It's worth the watch. So do you want to go to the Premier League? Under 23 youngsters?
Yeah. I mean, I think first we have to say that we have seen all the comments, all the suggestions. We're just going to scrape the surface today because next week, right? Can we promise this? I don't know. What do you think?
We can.
Next week, we are going to be doing a full Premier League prediction. It won't be like the whole episode, but it'll be a whole lot of it.
Yeah.
We'll have a lot to talk about. But today, what we wanted to talk about was most intriguing U23 players in the Premier League this season. This is kind of a big thing. It's more like narratives around it and stuff like that. Not the best players, but ones that we really think you should be watching this season. So you want to go with the first one?
I'm going to go with the first group one. And
Okay.
because I know everybody's going to be looking at Sancho, but I'm more interested in seeing what is United going to do with all these wingers that are behind Sancho. Because you got Elanga, Shola Shortire, Amad Diallo, and Facundo Pelestri.
Yeah.
I'm going to be straight up with you. And all these four are unbelievable. Like, in any team that they'd be one of the best youngsters in that team.
Yeah.
So how is United going to deal with this? They'll have to loan at least two of them. One of them, like, will stay with the under-23s as, like, a backup. And I'm interested in seeing who are they going to have at the bench.
Yeah.
Because I'm shooting for Elanga. Elanga has been impressing me. His speed, his quality in decision making, all these attributes. I think Elanga is ready coming off the bench.
Physically, he kind of looks the part right now to take a Premier League battering.
Exactly. So that would be my highlight. I'll highlight how is United going to deal with all these youth wingers.
Okay. Yeah, that's and I'm sure there are a lot of people that listen to this that have thoughts on that. So I would love to know their thoughts because that's something we wrestle with. I do think it's probably looking like a Shola is going to wind up tearing up the Premier League 2 again. But you never know because they're going to have fixtures, a whole lot of fixtures as well, and they're going to need to start developing that depth and blooding that depth. So I think we're going to see more of them than we think. I don't know what that means for Daniel James, but going on, I'm going to have to say, who do I want to start with? I got to start with, we didn't talk about this last week. Emile Smith-Rowe. Okay. He was handed the 10. He was handed the number 10. Now, do I think Emile Smith-Rowe will turn into a very solid 10? I do. Do I put him on the same level as an Ozil? No, I don't, right? But the fact of the matter is it's a clear decision that they are keeping it internal, that 10, and that whether or not Houssem Aouar winds up at Arsenal, Emile Smith-Rowe is going to get his playing time and is going to get his chance to show it. And here's what it comes down to. Smith-Rowe, he bleeds red. Okay, he's a gunner through and through. All right, he understands the gravity of the situation, the gravity of being handed the 10, but he is at the club of his dreams. He is literally at the moment in his dreams that I don't know if he ever actually thought he'd get there. He's not the finished product he's going to be, but it says to me that Arsenal is ready to play this man and let him make the mistakes and work through it. And frankly, they do have that type of a season where they can do this. So Smith-Rowe is absolutely one to watch.
That is true. By giving the number 10, they are handing a lot of responsibility to Smith-Rowe. Yeah. But do you think he'll start even though Odegaard or James Maddison comes in? Do you still think he starts?
I do.
Okay.
I do. I mean, that's yeah. I don't know. Ask me that again when they actually sign him. I don't necessarily.
No, I agree with you. I think they'll play both at the same time. I think handing him that shirt is like handing him the starter position. So I like a fantastic mention there. I'm gonna go more youth. Okay, and I'm going to go to the other side of the pond in London, and I'm going to go Tottenham, Tottenham. So I'd like to highlight Dan Scarlett. Why? Because, come on, I remember seeing at 16 coming off and being the youngest player ever to play competitively for Tottenham, Dan Scarlett. And I'm seeing some footage and the finishing, the awareness, And the fact that I don't see any Harry Kane replacements still coming for Tottenham. I know
Right.
maybe it's because they're expecting to keep Harry Kane. True. But they could be confident with the fact that they have a baller, okay, coming from the
Yeah.
academy. And look, if Tottenham had a Liam Delap in their academy, they'll be looking and they'll be saying, we might play him. If they have a Dan Scarlett, they'll for sure play him. Okay? So, yeah, I'd highlight to expect some minutes for Dan Scarlett in the Premier League.
Especially in
Really.
the what is it, the Conference League that they'll be
Yes.
in. But yeah, Dane, he has been prolific, but I don't mean to slow your roll, right? But there was another prolific youth striker, and I think this is probably where Spurs fans will be like, hey, let's back down on this.
Mm.
But Troy Parrott hasn't exactly, and don't get me wrong, he's still at the beginning of his career, but Troy Parrott has not necessarily gone on loan and done what Spurs fans thought that he was going to do, or even Spurs admin thought
Yeah.
that they were going to do. So yeah, that's a really, really interesting shout, because we did see a little more of him last year at Dane Scarlett at the end of the year, and I do expect to see a little more from him. But I also, to stay with Spurs, I got to bring up Brian Heel. I know we talked about him, but there's an interesting thing here, right? The coach is no longer the coach is Nuno Espirito Santo, right?
Mhm.
I tried to say that in my best Portuguese accent.
No
Those are
Espírito
really,
Santo.
okay. Uh, and we all know what Santo did with Wolves, right? Diego Jota and Pedro Neto were not finished products when they showed up there. Obviously, no player is a finished product per se,
Mhm.
but they improved dramatically under him, if I'm not wrong, right? And I would imagine he's going to employ a relatively winger centric setup at Spurs. And that's why you look at Brian Heel and you say he's not the finished product. He's too slight. He's got amazing ball control, amazing flair, amazing fun stuff that you can watch him do. But ultimately, it's going to come down to who's in charge and who's going to give him the chances. And you got to watch him, not just
Yeah.
because he was the buy so far this year, but because of Santos' role with Wolves and making Wolves one of the more attractive teams to watch at times, and hopefully bringing it to Spurs.
That's a good mention. Yeah, he could improve Brian Gil a lot.
Yeah.
But Brian Gil is more technically gifted, so I feel like he'll explore the middle much more than Neto. Let's
Okay.
see. I don't want to go here in depth, but that's a really good mention. I'm curious to see how it works. I'm gonna mention though, on the Wolves side, Fabio Silva. I think this is the season. Okay, I know he's just 18, so me saying this is the season is
Yeah.
very early, but I'm confident because I know Fabio Silva has high expectations with himself.
Yeah.
So I know he must have prepared this offseason like a madman.
Sure.
So I wouldn't be surprised if he'd managed to score 10 goals this season. Premier League goals would be a madness, but I'm going to go bold. I believe in Fabio Silva scoring 10 Premier League goals this season. You know, that wouldn't I would be surprised, but I wouldn't be too surprised. You know, that is bold. Okay?
That is-
Fabio Silva, I'm counting on you, man.
that is bold, but hey, we've seen it. He's been putting in the work. So I think you might be right on that one. Although,
And I'd like to mention too fast Billy Gilmore
okay,
for Norwich. Because I am hyped to see how he performs in his first match, because we know Billy Gilmore, every first match is a killer. But I feel like he's going to offer a lot of stability to Norwich. And coming off from the championship, he knows what a team like Chelsea does. And I think that was a very good loan done by Norwich. So be excited. He's one of the best youngsters in the Prem, in my opinion. And yeah, good to see.
That's a good one. All right, well then I gotta throw Christian Pulisic in there just because I know he's 22. Come on, I mean, he came in a 70 million euro deal. We all expect him to be this, but Christian Pulisic has needed a break for like 3 years. He has needed time to be healthy, to kind of get right. He is now coming off of what I would consider a very successful offseason. in where they won the CONCACAF Nations League title over Mexico. And then he was literally able to chill. And I mean, come back to the States and then get his mind right to come into a Chelsea preseason and make sure that day one, he's ready to go. And I really do expect him to be recovered, recentered, and ready to push for an everyday spot in the Chelsea 11, so that we see more of those glimpses that we saw against like a Manchester City when he just kind of traipsed by somebody and then finished it, pinged it off the inside of the post. That was kind of an older game, or the hat trick against Burnley. I mean, there's just so many moments that we want to see in extended moments of time. I think he's going to get closer to an Eden Hazard this year, but we'll see.
Okay. Let's see. Yeah, that's a good mention. That's a good mention, Pulisic. So he's got the rest, and yeah, high expectations though next season with Tuchel. I'm gonna go here with my final pick of the Prem ones to watch with Boubakary Soumaré, because I know what he's delivered at Monaco, and Leicester fans, what a steal! Okay, for 22 million, like I think that was 22 million. Boubakary Soumaré was a bargain, okay? Because he's a bargain because he's the type of player that can play in the Premier League straight away. And if you're signing a 22-year-old that can play in the Premier League straight away, and in my opinion, with quality, you're getting a bargain, okay? And Leicester, what a signing there in midfield. This French kid is going to surprise a lot of people. So remember the name, guys.
Yeah, I was just thinking of that Leicester City midfield. Ndidi, you've got Soumaré, you've got Tielemans. If you can hold on to Madison, I mean that core is just so exciting. It really is. I mean, but that's a very good shout. And I know we got a lot more here, but we do have to move on. I have one more, and he's kind of like an unsung hero of Aston Villa. Ezri Konsa. He's the center back, former Brentford center back in the day, and we didn't really talk about them today. But Ezri Konsa, I mean, everybody right now is talking about Grealish. They're talking about Buendia. They're talking about who lines up where, right? But to be honest, regardless of offense as your best defense, you need Tyrone Mings and Ezri Konsa to be much better this year, or as good, if not better this year. And Konsa, I don't think got enough respect last year with what he was doing at center back. I mean, maybe he did get some respect because he was on had the potential to be a part of that English national team. But he just throws himself everywhere. Just a team-oriented player, and one that I fully expect to continue his tag of kind of one of the most underrated defenders in the Premier League. So regardless of what you get from offensive firepower, Konsa is going to play a big role for Villa and whether or not they can repeat last year, right?
Yeah, that is a good mention. He is underrated. A lot of people don't talk about him and Mings, and that is a very good duo there for Aston Villa. So Liga Wonderkids, we wanted to do a quick list because the Liga right now Lille is playing PSG, so that is a big game happening, and therefore the French League is going to start. And we saw some comments on YouTube that I'm going to repeat. Feel free to comment down below on the YouTube comment section. Comment on TikTok. Topics you want to see us talk. And Liga, it was asked, and who are the Wonderkids to watch in Liga? And I'm going to start here, and I'd like to mention a solid Wonderkid that everyone should know in Liga. Yeah, I'm already hyping you guys up. And that's Tchouaméni at Monaco.
Yeah.
Every single Liga fan knows about Tchouaméni. Why? Because he's a baller. And I wasn't surprised seeing Chelsea wanting Tchouaméni for 30-40 million. He's worth it, okay? He is super reliable, okay? That's what I love about Liga midfielders a lot of times. They are so reliable, and there's always the composure level is extremely high, okay? And what I saw at Monaco was a leader in midfield who was dominating the midfield and was doing the right decisions. Yeah. So be hyped, guys. watch out for Tchouaméni at Monaco.
Yeah, that midfield coupling of Fofana and Tchouaméni was stellar last season for Monaco, and I'm a little surprised. I wonder if like some teams are just thinking, hey, we want to see him do it again before we drop 35, 40 million, or what the deal is. But he is definitely one to watch. And we talked about Varane, right? We talked about Len, and how he was kind of plucked from there. I think it was by Mourinho, right? Well, there's another guy that was just plucked. I believe it was from Len. Could be wrong. I think no, it was from Len, and it's Loic Bade, because we were talking about Jeremy Doku, we're talking about Kamavinga, we're talking about Kamaldeen. Probably one of the more important signings that Stade Rennais has made has been Bade. Why? Because he was pretty much, I believe he was the second best U23 in clearances, interceptions, couple other stats there, which I know, doesn't necessarily translate, just, put him in another shirt and then it all happens again. But he was absolutely central to that defense. Given the time, I think Bade, you're going to find he could wind up being another, I don't want to say Varane, but he could wind up being a very good player to come out of Ligue 1 and head somewhere else.
He's a big guy. He's a big guy.
Yeah.
He's a big guy.
Mobile, too. Mobile for a big guy. So
I'm going to mention two here of Lyon. Okay, real fast. And I'm going to go Bruno Guimarães for what I saw in the Olympics. I'm expecting to be translated in Liga. One of the best Brazilian midfielders out there. Again, reliable too. Passing ability. He's always been an excellent passer in Brazil too. And he's brought it to Ligue 1 to Lyon. So I'm really excited to see him this season too. And my other pick is the drippy Wonderkid in Liga, the swagger, okay? And that is Ryan Cherki with the coldest celebrations in the game. Sure. And I'm excited to see those celebrations in Liga next season because I'm sure they're going to come. Yeah. Being a baller that he is, dribbling-wise, offensive-wise, and I'm expecting to see improved decision-making with Ryan Cherki, okay? Because I felt that was the big problem last season. And I think he's going to be given the minutes to prove himself. So, Ryan Cherki, guys.
Yeah, that's a good one. He's one of our favorites. All right, mine is Amine Gouiri. He obviously had a breakout. He had a breakout season last year, right? I mean, he's a Lyon product, did phenomenally well at Nice. But here's the interesting thing. How does Amine Gouiri do well with the embarrassment of riches around him now that has come in either to protect his weaknesses and enhance his strengths, right? So now you've got Stengs, you've got Dolberg still up there, you've got Pablo Rosario coming from PSV, you've got this kind of influx of talent around him. Mm-hmm. So it'll be really interesting to see how Gouiri, how he
adapts, no?
And how he adapts to those, because sometimes roster turnovers, a welcomed shot in the arm. But if you've ever played Football Manager, if you go out and buy 25 new players, right? Because, Football Manager is life. You go out and you buy 25 new players, ultimately you're going to have a pretty crappy team.
That was a good shout out there to Football Manager. But you're right. Like, I was going to mention the next one, Stangs and Kluivert. And because I did see a lot of backlash with me saying that Calvin Stangs was a good move for it's going to Liga, and people were saying, "Oh no, he's not underrated. Like he didn't perform well." Well, I feel like he didn't perform well last season because of the injury. Personally, okay, and I feel like him going to Liga is a new opportunity for Calvin Stangs, and it's quite sad. I think now, like me that was watching Azel Kmar from a distance, seeing Boadou going to Monaco, Calvin Stangs now coming to Ligue 1 too. Like, it happened, but it's exciting to see. So, Kluivert too, he's in a redemption time. Like, ever since he left Ajax, Justin Kluivert hasn't been the same. Like, he had insane skills. We all know the YouTube videos. Yep. But I don't know. I'd love to see him come back in his career, and I'm excited.
All right. Well, I got one more, and then I guess we have to wrap it up, huh?
Well, we'll have 5 minutes to talk about like the performances we think should be highlighted. Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. Look at this. We have so much time now. Cool. I'm going to talk forever now. No, my next one, I got to go American bias here. And he's impressed in preseason a lot. Even amidst, you're talking about another talent injection to Marseille, whether it's Guendouzi, whether it's Saliba. You still got a whole lot of talent there at Marseille. Conrad de la Fuente was bought for kind of a cut rate deal. It was 4 million, 5 million, something like that. That pirouette turn in, and then the fire into the corner in the preseason. He's going to get his chances this year. I really do believe he's going to get his chances. And I think, League One gives him the opportunities to really run at some people and focus on his strengths. That'll be, there's a reason why Barcelona did stick a buyback clause in there, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, hey, he's not going to fit anytime soon. And he's definitely not going to get the playing time here. He shouldn't be playing Barca B. They're doing the right by him by saying, we're going to send you to a club. Frankly, I would have accepted the Eredivisie of some sort. But hey, Marseille, if they're showing that they have every intent to make him work. And I think he's going to do well. He's going to do well there.
That was a good transfer. That was a good transfer by Marseille.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys heard me. We're gonna do some interesting mentions because we don't want anything to be planned out.
Yeah.
And me seeing Sporting against Braga yesterday, I was there preaching at the TV saying, my mom was going crazy with me. I said, Nunes Minge, and you guys saw it. Like, who watched the game? You saw that pinpoint assist by Nunes Minge, okay, in the first goal of Sporting. The creativity now that he's showing, okay, like if City were watching that match, I think confirmation is you're not going to get Nunes Minge for 30 million, okay? Like 30 million, forget about it. And so, okay, guys, watch out because he's performing, okay? So watch the Sporting games because that Gonçalo Inácio too and Pot, that link up, that long pass that always goes to Pot is beautiful. Okay, Sporting fans must be hyped for this season. And last but not least, I'd like to mention a 15-year-old playing named Roger Fernandes, okay, a cousin of Joelson Fernandes, 15 years old, okay? And he's going to be 16 in next November.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Winger, okay? I didn't know too much about him, but I read an article like a month ago that this is very interesting about him. That Roger Fernandes, when he's studying, okay, because football players need to do the study of position-wise, what they need to do on the pitch. And a lot of players admire Barcelona, study how Barcelona play, study Messi. But Roger Fernandes, he studies his own team, Braga. And it was told that Carlos Carvalhal said that he was asking to the coach and he was doing reports of his opposition on the field. So he was like, who plays in my position? Galin. What does he do? He figured out everything in game analysis. So he's doing his homework about his home team, Roger Fernandes, at 15. So guys, watch out, okay? This kid looks special.
And if you're a 15-year-old footballer, you should do exactly what he's doing and start to study.
Exactly.
That's what most 15 and 16-year-olds are missing. And I gotta just jump on top of that right there. Because last week I told you I was pretty angry that I missed the chance to reference this. But the Seattle Sounders went into Austin with like 10 players out of their 11. Okay, just not able to play or on international duty. Okay, so what did they do? They brought along a bunch of academy players, a 15-year-old Obed Vargas and a 16-year-old Reed Baker Whiting. Both got starts. Okay, both got starts, becoming some of the youngest ever to start an MLS game. You ready for the next thing I'm gonna say?
For sure.
They won 1-1 zip in Austin. And I'm not going to say it was pretty. I'm not going to say they played lights out. But the Seattle Sounders do it better than most, although they did get a little bit of a humbling the next game they tried that with. But, I mean, this is a system that is definitely working over there when you've got those guys starting on the same weekend, a guy like Ricardo Pepe, for FC Dallas, 18 years old, scores a hat trick. So some good stuff to watch there in both Liga NOS. Well, actually, that was not Liga NOS. That was the Supertaça, right?
Mm-hmm. Supertaça.
Okay, that Roger Fernandez was in. So, yeah, I mean, Vargas, Baker, Whiting, Pepe, these are just some fun things to watch worldwide, right? Any others?
Well, and Yusuf Demir. Like, Yusuf Demir, bold, like, Messi-esque type in that friendly. But... yeah, I think we're up. I think here with FC Wonderkid episode 15. If you're still here, guys, please comment, okay? Say I'm gonna go bold, showing that you sticked around, okay? So every I'm gonna go bold, we're gonna see in the comments section. We know you guys listen to the whole pod. And thank you so much for the support on TikTok. You guys are amazing. Yeah. And yeah.
And you know what? You know what, Alex? I gotta say this, right? You've got the accent. You've got the whole name tag that I'm going to go bold. Tell me what jersey I should wear next, okay? But we'll talk about that at a later date. I'm just so happy we're able to get to do this, and more football is happening, man. Next week we're talking about the Premier League. We are back, right? With that, we're back, and then everything follows. Bundesliga, Ligue 1, everything.
Exactly.
It's going to be amazing.
Prem predictions. You'll go bold in that one. Okay, guys.
Right.
Thank you for listening. Heads up.
So long.